Chapter 1. After taking a big sniff, Danny jerked his head away, fighting the urge to gag as he screwed the lid back on the gone-off milk. He'd arrived home after running a security team at an exhibition centre in Birmingham. It was late and the drive home had been slow and arduous. All he wanted to do was have a cup of tea and hit the sack. Dumping the bottle in the bin, he grabbed his jacket and took the 5-minute walk to the mini-market on the high street. Pushing the door open, he threw up a wave to the guy behind the counter. "All right, Tam, your dad's got you doing the late shift again then," chuckled Danny, as he continued towards the fridges at the rear of the shop. "Yeah, tell me about it. The perk of being the owner's son," Tam shouted back. "It's tough at the top, mate," Danny yelled, bending down to pick up a 4-pinter. When he straightened up, his eyes fell upon the curved mirror mounted on the back wall of the shop. It was there so the shop assistant could see kids mucking about down the aisles or shoplifters tucking bottles of booze into their jackets. In this case, Danny could see a stretched image of the front window and what looked like a super-wide pickup truck reversing towards it, fast. Before he could turn to see it properly, the front of the shop imploded in a shower of shattered glass, followed by horrific screeching of the aluminium window frame being torn away by the vehicle's bodywork. The pickup thudded to a halt when it hit the shop's cash machine. Its casing was dented, but it held fast on its bolts to the floor. Before the dust could settle, a figure dressed in black climbed in through the debris, waving a sawn-off shotgun around. Danny bobbed down below the eyeline of the shelves. The gunman turned his ski-masked head in Tam's direction. "Does your fucking tone won't get hurt," he said with a hateful snarl. As Tam shook with fear, the sound of a screaming petrol engine filled the air. Like a scene from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a second member of the gang jumped in through the dust, wearing a hockey mask. Holding a screaming disc grinder, he went to work on the bolts, holding the cash machine to the ground. As he lit the front of the shop up in a shower of white-hot sparks, a third member of the gang appeared in the back of the pickup truck. He fixed chains around the cash machine, ready to winch it onto the flatbed as soon as they cut the last bolt. "Listen up, you've got 60 seconds to open the safe your old man has out the back. Now, move," said the first guy, jabbing Tam with a shotgun as he pushed him towards the stockroom. Okay, please don't hurt me," Tam pleaded. Seeing them move away from the two working on the cash machine, Danny moved around the shelves to get closer. He picked up a tin of plum tomatoes, frowning as he felt the weight. Putting the tin down, he looked along the shelves. Moving left, Danny picked up a family-sized tin of new potatoes. Bobbing it up and down in his hand, he smiled to himself satisfied. Standing so he could draw it back like a pitcher ready to throw a fastball, he kicked the bottle of wine off the shelf beside him. The gunman turned at the clinking bottles rolling down the aisle. Before he could react to the sight of Danny's head above the shelves, the heavy tin came hurtling across the shop like it was rocket-propelled. It caught him edge-on, right between the eyes, flattening him to the floor in one swift movement. Shocked and bewildered, Tam stood frozen to the spot. It took several gestures and mouthing from Danny before the penny dropped and he slid into the stockroom, closing the door behind him. Bobbing back down, Danny moved to the unconscious man and picked up the dropped shotgun. Breaking it open, he checked the 2 cartridge ends sitting in the barrels and clicked the gun shut again. At the front of the shop, the grinder's screaming petrol engine dulled down to a popping tick-over as the last bolt disintegrated under its cutting disc. The guy in the back of the truck immediately started to winch the cash machine up the tailgate. "Oi, dickheads! Drop everything and get down on the ground!" shouted Danny, emerging from behind the newspaper stand, the barrels of the shotgun darting between the man on the truck and the guy with the grinder. In a surprise move, the guy on the ground screamed the petrol grinder's trigger to the max and hurled it at Danny. It hit the floor with a horrific clang, its cutting disc sparking on the concrete as it dragged its way towards him. Trapped in the narrow aisle, Danny backed up as fast as he could and let the approaching grinder have it with both barrels of the shotgun. The noise was deafening in the confined space. The blast blew the grinder into the shop counter where it embedded itself and stalled. When the smoke cleared, Danny spotted the grinder guy jumping into the truck's cab and firing it up. He lurched the truck forward with the cash machine swinging half on and half off the back. Dropping the empty shotgun, Danny ran forward and launched himself on the back of the truck. He grabbed the chains around the half-on, half-off cash machine as the truck accelerated down the road. With his trainers dragging on the tarmac, Danny pulled himself up and over into the back of the truck. His feet hit the metal surface wide, keeping low to steady himself against the erratic driving. A blow caught him heavily across the cheekbone, knocking his head to the side. He looked up slowly to see the hateful eyes looking at him from behind a mask. Danny's face hardened, the muscles in his cheeks tensing as he gritted his teeth. The eyes narrowed, the pupils dark and burning as the anger grew. The masked guy moved to kick him off the side of the truck. Danny went down on one knee, absorbing the blow to his side and wrapping his arm around the attacker's leg. Holding it tightly, Danny powered a punch to the guy's balls before standing up and swinging the man around, pitching him off the side of the truck. He landed arse first through the windscreen of a parked car and lay unconscious, folded up across the front seats. Seeing a corner coming up, Danny jammed the winch in reverse, dropping the cash machine crunching and sparking onto the tarmac. As the truck cornered, the cash machine swung wide, hooking a lamppost like a ship's anchor. The truck jarred from 30 to a halt in a split second, sending the driver crashing through the windscreen and Danny flying over the top. He crashed through the hedge of the house opposite and rolled across the soft lawn. He lay there for a while checking for broken bones. When none presented themselves, he stood up to the sound of sirens approaching and strobing blue lights reflecting off the buildings. Why does this always happen to me?